And we are back for Fandom United Live,
Mm.
episode number 2. My name is Gio Ramos, and I am joined by one half of Bartley and Barnes. Is it the better half? I'll leave that up to you guys to decide.
Yeah.
But I am joined by Mr. Jacob Bartley. Keith Barnes will be joining us a little bit later. Jacob, what's up, man? Happy Thursday. Thirsty Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Not much, man. Just, enjoying life. The old
Mhm.
grind, back at it.
Nice. Anything fun over the last week? Anything interesting happen? Anything
Mm,
over the weekend?
Over the weekend. What did I do over the weekend? No, not necessarily. Oh, I mean, I did see a new movie. I mean, I saw the Bob Marley One Love.
Oh,
The
what'd you think?
Yeah, so I liked it. So I've been uh like Kylie and I have been going to we typically go to a movie once a week
Mhm.
unless there's nothing out. So we at least try to see, most releases that come out. But so yeah, we we went and saw Bob Marley One Love, and we were just I'm glad we chose that instead of Madam Web.
Yeah.
Uh because I actually grew up a big Bob Marley fan. My parents listened to Bob Marley a lot growing up, so I'm very familiar with his music, and so I was very curious to watch it. And the movie's good, but not great. I would say that they they captured the era, like the time period, and the aesthetics of the environment, and the cast portraying all the characters. Like it felt like you were there. Like they
Yeah.
did a great job of the setting and the cast and everything feeling like you were there. But as far as the storytelling and all that stuff, it was kind of just like, hey, you jumped into a random spot in Bob Marley's life and you just watched a couple, period of time go by,
Yeah.
and then it just ended, and it wasn't like a strict narrative, I would say, but I enjoyed it as a Bob Marley fan. Like when they were jamming, like the band, him and the band together, like doing their music thing, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. It being one of the more iconic musicians of multiple generations and
Yeah.
whatnot. It's a movie that deserves to happen, and a story that deserves to be told. How did oh man, I can't remember his
The
name.
actor
Yeah,
Kingston something.
um, God, what's his name? Damn it.
You're
He's
talking about the main actor, right?
Yeah, he was in um Secret Invasion. Um, Kingsley Ben Adir. How was he as
Oh, he was
Bob Marley?
the villain in Secret Invasion, right?
Yes.
Was that him?
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
Lashana Lynch. Nice.
yeah, it was Lashana Lynch playing his wife. They were both great, honestly. They both did a really good job. Yeah, there's certain things about it, like the performances were really good, but like I said, just as a movie, wasn't great. But as far as just feeling like you're there and they're those people, they did a great job.
Yeah.
Um, Especially those accents are not easy to pull off, and they did a really good job at that. Yeah, but I really appreciate. I mean, Bob Marley was basically an activist for the Jamaican people during the time. There was a lot of political stuff going on during the time, so that part was portrayed well. There was just no really resolution in the movie, but
Yeah.
it's hard to make a narrative around those type of things. So, but I enjoyed it. Like if you're a Bob Marley fan, I highly recommend it.
Would you give it a thumbs up or thumbs down?
Overall, I give it a thumbs up because, to be honest, like I just kind of wanted a yeah. Oh, your only yours works. I think it's because you're using an Apple computer, right? Because I think the iPhone does that.
Because Apple is the sheep.
But I give it a thumbs up because
Hmm.
I got what I wanted out of it was to like kind of just feel like I'm visiting Bob Marley for 2 hours
Yeah.
and like get going like time traveling back to that time and witnessing him come up with some of his I mean the time period that the movie takes place in uh most like a lot of his well-known songs had already been made, but
Hmm.
he made his Exodus album in this movie is him making his Exodus album, which I believe went on to become like his biggest album. But it's mainly about that, and then all the political background stuff. But so I wanted to just hang out with Bob Marley for 2 hours and like listen to him jam. So I got that, and so for that reason, I give it a thumbs up.
Very nice, man. Very nice.
Yeah,
It's probably gonna be a movie that I check out on streaming, but
yeah,
you know, nevertheless, I think again, it's a movie that deserves to be seen, and you know, um, hopefully, well, in your mind, they did a fairly good job honoring Bob Marley and
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
doing that. Yeah, I spent the weekend, Jacob, we're sports guys. I spent the weekend watching the NBA All-Star activities. There was the skills challenge, the three-point contest, and slam dunk, and then of course the All-Star game. It's a big topic right now in sports because the All-Star game, like the Pro Bowl. Basically, it's an event, a weekend for all the stars, all the best players of the NBA to come together, and they're supposed to play one of the like greatest pickup games of any basketball game during that season. That did not happen. There's a lot of criticism for these NBA stars, arguably divas, just not really putting much effort, and it became a really high scoring game. Which can be entertaining. Watching the players make the basket, but it really it didn't do the concept of an NBA All Star game any favors. But what was a huge success was a special event, a three-point competition between Golden State Warriors' Steph Curry and Liberty City's Sabrina Ionescu. And I'll share this video right here that you guys can see. It's the first time ever the WNBA and the NBA joined forces for an event like this, and it ended up being the best event out of the entire weekend right there. That girl Sabrina, she brought it. She represented, and she had a majority, if not all, basketball fans, giving her respect and her, putting the WNBA on the map in an even bigger way. And now you have fans, interested in the idea of a Sabrina Ionescu or a Caitlin Clark competing against NBA players. It was one of the more exciting events. Did you get a chance to watch this? And if so, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, I didn't watch all of All Star Weekend and not really much of the game, but I had to check this out.
Yeah,
So I watched the video and it was entertaining. I mean the concept of it alone is must watch.
yeah,
Historically, it's must watch. I mean, they should do this. And the thing is, like, I understand why they can't play in against each other in like a league or a game because it's just physically it's not it doesn't make sense. But
it would
for a
be.
shootout.
unfair. Yeah.
for a shootout, um, that they can do this every year. They can do a 3-point contest every year. The only thing is like, and they talked about this during the broadcast the whole time, is like, so she was using WNBA size balls, and
I
obviously Steph used NBA balls, which is no, that's perfectly fine. No, I'm glad they did
yeah,
that. They shot from the NBA 3-point line, which I believe the WNBA 3-point line is closer,
a
if
little
I'm
bit
not
closer.
mistaken.
Yeah, but
So
she
I think
chose to
she
shoot.
should have been able to shoot from her 3-point line, because like you have to go, like Steph is doing nothing different from what he usually does, right? Like same line, same ball. She should have the same line and same ball too. So I think if she did, it would have been even closer, or she might have won. So,
It would have been
but it
closer.
was interesting though.
Yeah. No, it probably would have been closer. She probably would have won. I mean, you see in the way she's shooting from the
Hmm.
NBA line, she said, "No, we're not doing that." Okay, okay, like maybe I have to use WNBA balls because my hands are smaller,
Of course,
but
yeah.
I can still shoot. Shooters shoot,
Hmm.
and I
I
actually,
respect that.
yeah, and I actually, I think she made the right choice from sticking with that, because the last thing you want, um
As if she wins and people make excuses,
well,
like,
people are already, you should see, like, go on Instagram and like, or Twitter, any WNBA posts, sometimes they have to limit the comments because it's so toxic. It's like, I mean, it's just really nasty stuff that
mhm.
people write, which is the internet. Okay, that's like bound to happen, but particularly with the WNBA, she wanted to send a message to not just NBA fans, but to everybody who even may
Yeah.
not be a fan, that this is a sport that deserves more viewers. I'm talking WNBA, and in a lot of ways, that event right there is kind of saved the All Star weekend. The NBA has been trying some new things with trying to attract new viewers and elevate their game. Here's another video right here. They introduced an LED court. Now, I'm all for like artistic designs and whatnot, creativity on NBA courts. I'm not gonna lie, this screen right here, LED court screen, was a little bit too much right there. It reminded me of Space Jam Legacy, the one that came out a
Oh,
few years ago.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there are times when it did serve its purpose, where it did, add a little bit more, like this right here, a little mascot game, which I mean, that's pretty cool right there. And I do like when it's a color like that. I don't mind those little graphics right there, but when it starts to get all like, a lot of stuff happen on screen, it could be over over simulating. And do you have any thoughts on like the concept of an LED court? Like, is that necessary? Like,
So, yeah, so the thing for me is, if it's during All-Star weekend, during like a skills contest or something, or like even I do miss the old era of all when they took the All-Star game seriously and like they wanted to win MVP, like the Jordan and Kobe, like really going for it. Um, I think that era is kind of gone, but if it's during All-Star weekend, I don't mind this, honestly,
yeah.
because
See, like that right there, that's a
honestly,
little much.
All-Star weekend is like, as far as like how it affects the season, and like
Mhm.
it's irrelevant. It's just a celebration of the best players in the NBA, and it's for fun, and it doesn't affect the regular season at all. And I mean, it's for charity as well. A lot of charities involved. Um,
Yeah,
because it has no significance on the actual like standings, or award, like season awards or anything. I don't mind it, honestly. If they started putting these in the real game, like let's say 10 years from now, they start like every court's LED and all, no, absolutely not. Don't put it in the real season game or playoffs ever. But for All-Star weekend, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right, right? I mean, it's just it could be a way to make it a little more interesting and add a little bit
Yeah.
more, spectacle to the weekend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because I thought it was definitely the talk of the town on the internet for Saturday night and Sunday night, and it's just they're going to be making some changes and they're going to look at the feedback and whatnot, and hopefully, make an even better product, one that's a little more competitive because that's why we watch sports, right? Is for the competition. So, yeah. So during today's show, guys, we're going to get into basically the Hollywood Reporter dropped a news article on Marvel Studios and some of the things that they've been doing behind the scenes to kind of do some course correction. Um, they're calling it, let me look at my notes here, creative retooling,
Hmm.
with the focus being internal this year. Hence why there's only one MCU movie releasing on the big screen, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. Which honestly, I mean, if there was a one movie in a foreseeable future that I could only watch this year, it would be Deadpool and Wolverine. That yeah,
I mean,
that
it
movie
has to
right
be.
there, yeah, is highly anticipated. But I thought it was a very interesting article for a number of reasons. One, it's Marvel Studios once again acknowledging that the state of the MCU is not in the best shape. They've they had a pretty rough year last year with Quantum Mania underperforming, and that movie being counted on as being one of Marvel's big hits post Avengers Endgame. I mean, you have Kang the Conqueror, who is going to be the big baddie of, or was going to be the big baddie of the multiverse saga. And then you had the Marvels, which didn't perform as well for whatever reason. I mean, pick your choice. But they did also talk about how Marvel had a strong February. I mean, the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer became the most watched trailer of all time. It had
Oh yeah.
365 million views in 24 hours. Okay, and then they follow that up with the Fantastic Four casting with Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ebon Moss Backrack, and Joseph Quinn. We finally got that casting announcement. And then in the same week, they, pulled the heartstrings of all 90s babies with the X-Men 97 trailer that is pretty much a continuation of the classic animated series in the 90s, which was full on nostalgic and just awesome. Uh, on top of a strong February, the article also highlighted some of the changes that they have been making behind the scenes. Most notably, Jonathan Majors is done as Kang. All right, we knew this for a while. Marvel fired him after the verdict came out with his legal troubles, and in the article, they were very specific to say the Kang character is either going to be mostly removed from the original plan or removed entirely. So that's not a big shocker given the news, but it's a big shocker because it's also a big shocker because Marvel had so many plans with the character of Kane the Conqueror.
Hmm.
Um, they also did a script polish on the Fantastic Four, so they wanted to make sure that they get the script right because this is the third time that a possible franchise is going to be started with Fantastic Four, Marvel's first family. They also did reshoots on Agatha Darkhold Diaries, Agatha being a spinoff from WandaVision.
Hmm.
They also hired the showrunner for FX series The Bear to work on the Thunderbolt script, which is basically Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad. You have antiheroes and bad guys being sent on a mission that they were supposed to die, but they ended up surviving. There's all these changes happening. Yeah, Captain America: Brave New World, Captain America 4, same thing. Pushed 7 months until February 2025 with heavy rumors of heavy script rewrites. When you look at all this, Jacob, what do you think about it? And also, give me your. I don't think we ever talked about this on camera. Give me your perception of the MCU post Endgame. You know how that's been for you.
Um, Obviously, there's been a few disappointments since Endgame, but I do think the negativity is sometimes blown out of proportion.
Uh huh.
Because I do think there is a segment of the fan base out there, like movie fan base, that is rooting for Marvel to fail. So they're more inclined to point out the negatives and just hammer home their failures, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they're still the best show in town, like even though they've had these failures going. So for me, it's been like at worst, it's been like 50-50 for me, like on the projects since Endgame. But like, and everybody knows points to the bad ones, but there's been a lot of good ones too, like WandaVision. Shang-Chi is incredible. Like, love that movie. People forget that Spider-Man No Way Home, like everyone acts like that movie's not a big deal. Like it's a huge success. And then like everyone loved it when it came out. And then I feel like people like they kind of just are pretending like they don't like it as much as they used to. Um, but don't get me wrong. Obviously, I was very disappointed with uh, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Like that was like my number 2 or 3 most anticipated movie that year, and absolutely like broke my heart. And then for me, the Marvels, I said from the beginning, it needs to be. You can have uh, Monica Rambeau and Miss Marvel in there, right? Totally fine. But it should be Captain Marvel 2. Make it a sequel, a Carol Danvers centered sequel. You could still have those characters in it, completely fine. I think that idea of making it like a team up movie was the wrong decision from the beginning, and like calling it the Marvels. Um, like I said, you could have had a very similar movie, more focused on Carol Danvers. The first one made over $1 billion and was a huge success. Like, there's no reason you couldn't have replicated that if you just made a better movie. But yeah, and then a few of the shows have been. I mean, Secret Invasion was not my favorite. Echo really disappointed me. Like, I was, I was very much looking forward to Echo, and it
Damn.
really disappointed me. I mean, there were some things in Echo that I really liked, but really disappointed me. But like the thing is, the MCU wasn't. I don't think it was ever going to hinge on Echo or Secret Invasion. Like Secret Invasion could have been a huge thing for them, right? But obviously, we all know how that went. I mean, some people might like it, but I did not like the way that turned out. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of like behind the scenes reasons why and post Endgame the MCU kind of like has been messy. The thing is, that's the thing is like it's been messy. It hasn't been a failure to me. It's just not like when you reach the highest mountaintops you could possibly reach, it's hard to like maintain that success. It's really hard. Um, so I think that's the only thing. Their only competition is themselves. And so like when you're comparing it to the Infinity Saga era, of course it's a failure, but I think it's just a messy disappointment so far. But obviously, I'm not going to get into like the Bob Chapek influence of all of this. Like he took away Kevin Feige's authority. He decided he gave someone else power of what can be released and where it's going to be released to, and all of this stuff. Oh, I actually really like Black Widow, by the way. I didn't forgot to mention that. Like villain withstanding, like the villains were not good, but besides that, I really liked Black Widow. But yeah, so like there's a whole lot of things that casual movie fans aren't gonna know. Um, like they made so much content, and Kevin Feige wasn't able to have quality control over all of it, and he was stripped of deciding when things would be released and where they would be released, meaning like streaming versus film or versus theaters. And so there's a lot of those things that affected it. But now, Bob Iger's back, gave Kevin Feige back that power. We're seeing them scale back a lot of the ride to have one movie this year. The strike, the Hollywood strikes really affected that as well. Like they had to stop production on a lot of things. But I do also think it's a strategic move to only release one movie this year. Like they could have kept some movies this year and rushed them, but I think it's a strategic move. I forget where I read it. It might have been in this article that you addressed, but that it's a releasing one movie this year is like they want people to miss the MCU. Basically,
Yeah.
I forget. I believe that was in the article.
Yeah.
And I like that idea because we've had so much MCU in the past decade, right? So, getting one movie this year, like it's gonna, and especially if that movie hits like we think it is, it's gonna have us starving for more good MCU. And I am, having less projects makes me more excited for all the ones that are coming. Before that I have to like, oh my God, there's like 10 things coming. Like, what do I focus on? Now it's like, Deadpool, Wolverine, Thunderbolts, Captain America, New World Order, and a couple of the shows that are coming out. Like, I'm really excited for all of those projects. So I'm very optimistic. Like, I think they can get back to where they were, especially like, let's say hypothetically, Hugh Jackman rides this out until Secret Wars. That could be huge. That could be huge. And it could be, depending on who else they bring back and what other characters develop and become, fan favorites, could be as huge as the Infinity Saga. Like, I think they can get there again.
I think it'll be bigger. Somehow. It'll
Yeah, I
somehow
mean,
be bigger because Kevin Feige, he I mean, if he manages to somehow interconnect, not just because it's the multiverse and all they exist, but if he somehow involves those characters the right way and gives them the Spider-Man and his villains from No Way Home treatment, where we saw better versions of Spider-Man, of Electro, of I mean, William Dafoe's Green Goblin. I mean, he's goated. Any appearance he in, he's fantastic. But imagine Kevin Feige saying, "Okay, I'm gonna take the old Fantastic Four crew with, I mean, Chris Evans. I'm willing to bet Chris Evans returns as Human Torch, but you get that crew. You get obviously Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. You get some of the X-Men characters that weren't given a fair treatment or like a fair shake.
Wait, so you real quick, you think they're gonna have some of the old Fantastic Forecast and the new Fantastic Forecast? Like
No, but I think for
certain
a
movies they could
story
pop
a
up?
story like Secret Wars,
Yeah.
a multiverse,
Yeah.
we're at least gonna see one. And if I had to put
I
my
could
money
see
on
that.
it, I think it's Chris Evans as Human Torch. He's been dying to come back and play that character to the point where he was almost gonna appear in Deadpool 2 as one of the characters that auditions in the basement
Oh, that
for
would be
X Force.
hilarious.
Yeah, that was on the table. Um, but I agree with a lot of what you said. First off, No Way Home not only was special because it brought three different Spider-Man together. Spider-Man, three different portrayals of Spider-Man together. It also proved that audiences are ready for stories like that where they won't get confused.
Mhm.
They can handle more than one, version of a character existing. And the old ways of no, there has to be one because audiences will be confused and they won't understand.
Yeah.
Stop. That I never agreed with that. And if you pay close attention to Marvel and the way that they write their movies, they would agree.
Oh, they've made
It,
it very clear. Like, if there's one thing they've succeeded at so far in this multiverse saga, it's making sure the audience understands how the variants work. Like,
yeah, how the
yeah.
variants work, or how, or not getting too nerdy with characters and lore and whatnot. That's
Mhm.
why you have lines like in Age of Ultron when Maria Hill is talking to Cap and describing Wanda and Quicksilver. She says, she's weird and he's fast.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Audience understands right then and there
Yeah.
what's going on. Or
Yeah.
in Avengers Infinity War, where Tony Stark is explaining to Peter Parker what's going on. Aliens came to steal a necklace from a wizard. Boom. Those who never saw Marvel movies get it. They
Yeah.
understand. So it's just like
Love that line.
if you pay attention, Sony, to what Marvel is doing and how they write their movies, they don't make it too complicated. They make it just enough to be fun and enjoyable and entertaining, which is what a blockbuster movie should do. Um, then maybe they would have a more successful universe. Maybe they would do something with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man or Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker instead of just letting them sit and giving us Madam Web and Morbius, which I'm I'm nervous, but I'm crossing my fingers that movie's decent, but I wouldn't put money on it. In
Oh,
regards to this
Craven?
article, well, go ahead, go ahead.
You said, are you talking about Craven?
Craven, yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm not
Did I say
I
did I
can't
say
believe I'm
something?
looking forward to Craven still. Like,
It could
but
be
we'll
interesting.
see.
We'll see. I want to see how Rhino looks. Um, in regards to this article, though, this THR article that released, it makes me feel a little vindicated. It does because I and many others have felt this way about the MCU for a while. Okay, like you give us this amazing epic conclusion to the Infinity Saga with Endgame. Okay, and then you give us a solid Disney Plus series in WandaVision, and then you follow that up with a few more. I love Falcon and the Winter Soldier, me personally. And then you have
That
hits.
one's it's good.
Yeah, and then it starts to get really shaky. Okay, like you have No Way Home, great. Then you have Thor: Love and Thunder. Ugh, am I subjectively
Oh,
speaking?
yeah, no. Thor: Love and
Yeah,
Thunder is terrible, and don't forget, Far From Home also is post Endgame.
it is right.
That's crazy to
No,
think
is
about.
it?
Yes, it is. Because remember, Tony Stark's dead, and he's yeah,
But that movie concludes the Infinity Saga, right?
supposedly.
Or yeah,
I mean, it's the end of that phase, right? But
yeah,
really, Endgame's the end, honestly, in my opinion.
yeah.
But to me, the more that time passes, I don't like Far From Home that much, to be honest.
Thank you. Yes.
I
I have
I
felt that way, and I remember.
every time I watch it, I like it less. As opposed to Homecoming and No Way Home, I like
Yeah,
them more every time I watch them.
dude.
But Far From Home, for some reason, like, it's so cheesy to me, like, when Mysterio reveals himself and he's in, like, the bar, and it's, like, just all of that stuff.
People on the
It's
internet were like, "That's not Jake Gyllenhaal acting. They just had the cameras on during the production set when he goes, 'Take this stupid costume off of me.'" It's like,
yeah, like, I have a hard time, like, I think I dislike that movie more than I like it, but like I said, Homecoming was my favorite Spider-Man movie before No Way Home came out.
yeah.
So, I mean, Spider-Man 2 actually was tied with Homecoming before
Oh,
No Way Home came
Spider-Man
out.
2. Oh, speaking of that, in a few months, it'll be the 20th anniversary of
Oh my
Spider-Man 2.
god,
The 20th anniversary.
that's
We are old.
crazy.
Don't let this baby face fool you, okay? We are old.
Doc Ock is
Ugh.
still one of the best
Oh,
comic
yeah.
book movie villains ever.
Dude. When he got announced, he'd be returning, everybody was I mean, I don't know who they were more excited for, William Dafoe or Alfred
They're both
Molina. I
so
mean,
good in No Way Home. I rewatched No Way Home recently, and to me, it holds up.
yeah,
It's a thrill ride the whole way through, and the villains make it.
dude.
Especially, I mean, Willem Dafoe, obviously. I mean, Doc Ock and Electro. I
Y
love Electro in
yeah.
that movie. Absolutely love Jamie Foxx in that movie.
He has a lot more swag in this movie, you know,
Hmm.
he's, tiptoeing into
And
Baby Driver
when he gets
territory. Yeah.
he's dangerous when he gets
The
what is the
arc
little arc
reactor.
reactor.
Yeah,
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 so cool.
yeah, man, I'm just thinking about that interaction between, Octavius and, Norman Osborn when they look at each other and they're like, "Oh, shit, they're interacting. We didn't think we would see
Oh,
this."
I know. It's crazy.
Um, and look, just because I feel vindicated by this article because it's Marvel admitting what a lot of us have felt for the longest time, but, you know, we were given shit on Twitter or X, whatever you wanna call it. I am not being critical of Kevin Feige. I need to make that very clear, okay? Because like Rachel pointed in this, right here, you know, he dealt with a lot, okay? I mean, COVID, you know, they had to rearrange their whole
Yep.
slate, okay? America Chavez was supposed to be in No Way Home and not and she was supposed to be the one who, you know, tapped into the portals, not Ned and show me Peter Parker, you know. That's why that part right there, like knowing that and seeing that, I was like, okay, like there was definitely a better idea on the table, but because of COVID, you know, that it is what it is. And then of course Chadwick Boseman, dude, we were so devastated. We were together, hanging out at your old apartment when that news broke, and
Yep.
nobody knew. And even in the MCU novel that I recommend you guys read, you should really listen to the audiobook or whatever. They had plans for Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa to be one of the new
Oh, he would
uh
have been,
Marvel
like,
Holy Trinity, you know, where it was Thor, Cap, and
absolutely.
Iron Man.
Yeah,
He was gonna be one.
I think I think he would be leading the MCU right now.
Oh, yeah.
I think he would
The
be
King of Wakanda?
the
Yeah.
number 1 face of the MCU right now,
And that's
honestly.
why and I'm sure you feel the same way, like, I give Wakanda Forever a pass because that movie happened. That
And I
movie
still oh, yeah, I still like, okay, considering the challenges that it faced, that,
yeah,
you know, I still like Wakanda Forever, and I love Namor.
yeah,
Like, as far as introducing new characters, they've done a really good job of that. But even though the movies
Yeah.
are disappointing or
You could
subpar.
tell Ryan Coogler was in his bag with the whole Namor stuff, and
Oh, and the thing is, that would have been T'Challa and Namor, like, you know, which, like, I think they still have the same plan to go with
yeah,
Namor. Yeah.
yeah.
But
I hope
Namor's
so, man.
incredible in that movie.
He's
Love him.
he's is he the first or second mutant in the MCU? I've because I
Well,
didn't
you
watch Miss
mean like,
Marvel, so I don't know which one takes like
do
a
you
mutation.
mean like in it said in the MCU or like historically in the MCU?
Historically, based on what we know right now,
Okay, well, I think Miss Marvel came out first, right?
I don't know.
I believe Miss Marvel came
Probably
out first. So the word mutant was said first in Miss Marvel, but Namor, Namor, he was
no
around
more.
for a long time.
Yeah,
Like,
he's older, so
right,
biology speaking, he's the first mutant. So
as far as we know, yeah.
yeah, for now. And no, Charles Xavier from Universe 638, who quickly died, does not count. Okay. We're talking about 616.
Yeah, in
Um,
616, as far as we know, yeah, them too.
yeah. But another thing I wanted to bring up was, one thing this article talked about, and you mentioned it, dialing it back on the amount of content. N- I would like to see the Young Avengers someday. I don't want to see them right now. We are in the multiverse saga. I want to see X-Men. I want to see Fantastic Four. I want to see Blade. By the way, who knows with that movie? But we'll get to that. But like that's another thing. Like get fans excited for the MCU again. How do you do that? You pull out the big guns. Okay, you bring Hugh Jackman in. You bring Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool in. You bring Kelsey Grammer's Beast in to make an appearance in a Marvel movie, and let fans know that the X-Men are coming. That's what they want to see. They don't no disrespect to, Kate Bishop and Wiccan and Speed and the kids and whatnot. Like, yeah, sure, Disney Plus that shit or whatever, but like I want to see mutants. I want to see Marvel's First Family. I want to see Ghost Rider. I want to see characters who I never thought would share the screen with characters of the MCU on the big screen. And they're not wasting any time with that. We just went through the February highlights for Marvel Studios. They introduced the Fantastic Four, X-Men 97, Deadpool and Wolverine. They're giving us mutants. They're giving us Marvel's First Family. They're understanding that we are still invested in Marvel Studios, but we're not invested like we used to be. And if you want us to get back to that level of Endgame, Infinity Saga hype, you better start giving us content or movies that are must see. You can't miss.
Hmm.
And am I out of line? Do you agree or do you disagree? What's up?
No, I mean, of course they need to, and that's easier said than done. But I think the thing is, you can have both. Meaning, like, I think immediate future, do the multiverse thing. You're already doing it. Like, you have
Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer popping up. You have Hugh Jackman coming in. Ryan Reynolds. Um, we already had Professor X. So we can see any character that Disney has the rights to pop up in any of these movies. Any Marvel character that they have the rights to pop up in any of these movies.
Yeah.
And so do it. Like, you're already in it, like, do it and do it well. They've already introduced a lot of young characters, right? I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but every original Avenger has a passing the torch character. Every original Avenger. Hulk,
Yeah.
She-Hulk, Iron. All right, the only one to me, the characters have to have known each other in order for a passing of the torch. So the only one that's not direct, but would you say Rhodey is maybe the passing of the torch from Iron Man, or is I guess Spider-Man would be the passing of the
Yeah,
torch from
he
Tony
got
Stark.
Edith, right? Yeah.
But either way, I mean, we're getting Ironheart, right? And if they have an AI Tony Stark in there, I guess you can have that kind of situation. But like,
If they pull that off, man.
they did Hawkeye. They have a Hawkeye passing the torch. They have a Black Widow passing the torch. A Cap passing to Sam Wilson. Like every original Avenger. So I think point being is like, okay, you can build up these characters. Like you don't have to do a Young Avengers movie 3 years from now, right? But you can have these characters in the MCU, and like let's say Kate Bishop is in the MCU for 8 years, 8 to 10 years, and like by the time Secret Wars ends, like she's still alive, and a couple of those, like most of those young characters you introduced are still alive. Now we've known them for 5, 6, 7 years, and you can continue the MCU with them and some of the older characters that are still alive, and then you can go from there, you know? So I think you can do both. You can have the multiverse saga with all these characters returning, new characters coming in like that are also like old, like a Blade, you know, like a Mahershala Ali Blade. But then also have these young characters be a part of it. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, and I am no comics expert at all, but if I'm not mistaken, it's in Secret Wars. I think isn't there something about how like all the main heroes get sent to the battle world, and
Yeah,
like
Battle
now all the
World
young
where
heroes are back on Earth, like still there, left to defend it or something. Like I could see something like that. Like yeah, so
yeah, I mean, that could work. You just I think you run the risk of you know, oversaturating on screen. Um because you can only fit so much into a 3 hour movie now. It used to be 2 hours or 2.5, but now
so
it's
let's
three
say they
hours.
have a end game level battle, right?
Okay.
Like or bigger. I don't know how you do bigger than that. Unless you have multiple battles happening on different planets and stuff. But like let's say you have um an end game level battle, are Kate Bishop and Kamala and you know these younger characters, they're gonna be there or no? Like that's gonna be interesting to see.
If they're not there, you'll have some of the audiences who, have been, keeping up with the MCU. The ones who've been keeping up with the MCU going, "Where are they?" For people who feel the same way I do, we're like, "We don't want them anywhere near it." Okay? We want the screen to focus
Yeah,
on multiverse characters, variants, and the MCU heroes.
yeah,
Rhodey, Cap, Sam Wilson,
yeah,
Doctor Strange, Peter Parker. Um, I guess Shuri, right? She's the
yeah.
new Black Panther until
Hmm.
T'Challa Junior comes
Grows
of
up.
age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still a genius move by
Thor.
them because they basically gave us another T'Challa. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
and that
best move
was a
they could have
smart way to
made.
do it. Yeah.
Best move they could have made if they didn't want to recast that T'Challa. Yeah,
Which I mean, I would have been okay if they would have recasted T'Challa, depending on who they got as an actor.
yeah,
Like if you get John David Washington, I'm for that,
yeah. I wouldn't be against it.
or an actor of his caliber, you know.
Yeah,
If you get Brandon T. Jackson to play T'Challa, who was in Tropic Thunder, no, that's not gonna work.
yeah. But I'm okay
Um,
with what they did.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
now that the decision was made. Yeah.
How do you think they're gonna go about? Jonathan Majors Kang character. Because well, I shouldn't say Jonathan Majors. It's the Kang character. Jonathan Majors no longer involved in the MCU.
I
The
think
character could
they
still be.
I think they um I think they already have given themselves an out, and they're going to
Mhm.
remove the character from the MCU. Like, so at the end of Loki season 2, they say the TVA is keeping an eye on all the King variants and like basically taking care of them. And I think that I mean, you saw end of Quantumania, like I don't know how they could do that, but um I think they're just gonna say like the Kane problem is solved after Loki season 2.
And then that's it for Kang the
Yep.
Conqueror. So who would they get for the big bad of the multiverse saga
You
for
know who.
what's called Avengers 5? It's not called the Kang Dynasty anymore. It's Avengers 5 and then
I
Secret
don't know if
Wars.
this character is going to be like the headline of Avengers 5, but I think it's pretty obvious who becomes the main villain of the MCU. It's Doctor Doom.
You think they would use him that quickly before even a Fantastic Four movie, you think? Or
So when
well,
does
I'm sorry.
all right,
We'll get Fantastic Four before Avengers
right?
5, but that would be a very short window to use Doctor Doom. Would you think? You think?
I think he's appears in Fantastic Four, but he's not a main character
He's Victor
or
Von
he's
Doom.
not the main villain.
Yeah.
Um, and I think they build it up that way. Like, I mean, maybe he's around in the 60s and then the Fantastic Four go through what they go through. In the meantime, he goes through his own journey and maybe they make a movie about that.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, because I mean, they're gonna cast Leonardo DiCaprio as Doom. So that
And
movie
he's
makes
not
a
going to do a
billion.
10 picture deal.
That movie makes $1 billion. I think he does a 3 picture deal. No, you're right. I mean, the thing is, he he is a big. He likes superhero stuff. He was in the running to play like Spider-Man back in the day, and then of course his best buddy Tobey Maguire ended up doing it. But and he said in sometime in like the past 5 years, he said something like, "If the right role came around." Um, so I've been saying that all along. I wish. I mean, I really wish, but they'll find a great actor to play Doctor Doom. But I do think, look, I'm not saying by Avengers 5, but I'm saying by Secret Wars, Doctor Doom the is the is the problem. Because for me, like, let's say it's Galactus, right? To me, if it's a human character from Earth who's like the big bad, that is that's pretty crazy. Because like, look, Loki was a big bad. Thanos was a big bad. Galactus could be a big bad, right? Kang. I mean, I guess Kang was from Earth too, obviously, but from the future. But if the big problem is a human character from Earth, I think that cause is a great story, like that potentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
I
is, it
don't
won't
know.
be him taking on everybody by himself. Like, he's gonna. Well, there's storylines where he studies, becomes a sorcerer. Like, I think they'll go
Yeah.
that route
Or he
because
has
he's gonna have
Doom
to be able to
Doom
take on
bots.
anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Um we'll see. I think it's I mean, obviously
I
it's
mean, who
still up in
else
the
could it
air.
be? Like, unless it's like, I just can't think of
Unless
anybody
they
else.
recast Kang, because they
Which is
did kind of,
possible.
with the whole variant thing, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean
Surely not all of
they can easily say this is a King variant. I mean, they
Yeah.
literally that was the whole like Loki season 1 when they introduced Kang. Like they made it very clear there's a ton of different Lokis. So and we already know there's different Spider-Man that look completely different, different ages, like easily. But I think the Kang character, regardless of the Jonathan Major situation, the Kang character, I think has been a failure for them. Regardless of it, it just happened to be that the Jonathan Majors thing happened too.
I don't know. I think Kang was by far the best part of Quantum Mania, which I mean I
I
guess
liked
isn't
him,
saying a lot.
but I guess I shouldn't say he's a failure, but he just like hasn't like they didn't succeed in creating this like we better be afraid of him. Like to me, the post credit scene in Quantumania is like silly.
Oh, with
Honestly,
Victor Timely.
it felt silly.
Well,
No, not the one with the Kang. Um,
oh,
like
where it's the Coliseum,
yeah,
the
mhm,
Council of Kangs.
yeah,
Yeah.
felt kind of silly to me. So I don't know. I mean, I did like Kang in Loki season 1, and I guess 2. Like, why not? But uh, I don't know. I don't think like like Thanos, people just immediately gravitated towards him and like oh my god, amazing villain. But like I don't feel that for Kang even before the Jonathan Majors controversy.
Well, let's remember Thanos did have a very slow start. It
Oh,
wasn't until Infinity War
absolutely, yeah,
when we finally, got on board, which was, his movie, Infinity War.
yeah.
But I don't know. They kind of shot themselves in the foot with Kang being defeated by Ant-Man and his ants. And it's just like, this is the guy?
I
They
didn't
they
mind the ants because it make like what can you do against them like in but yeah, I mean the thing is I love Ant-Man, but you can't have him defeating your main villain. That I mean Hank Pym, yes, but you can't have Scott beating up your main villain. Like I don't
yeah.
know, but Hank
Yeah.
Pym defeating him somehow, I believe that, and that worked for me.
Yeah. Um So we're only getting one movie this year, which is, like I said, I'm okay with that because it's Deadpool and Wolverine, you know.
That movie's gonna
And
be
because
crazy.
of yeah, I mean that movie just it'll be an event movie. It'll be an event movie.
Absolutely.
Especially with that second trailer coming up. Rachel has a good point right here. The villains of Phase 4 have been awesome. Yeah, Wenwu, Icarus, Richard Madden, Gore, the God Butcher, by far the best part. I mean, hands down, clearly. And then Kang. Um, I
Yeah,
don't know. I just
I liked all of those to some degree, but I don't
mhm.
think either of them. I don't think any of those. I mean, Kang was supposed to be. I don't think any of those replaced Kang. But oh, I think she's saying that like whatever villain they end up going with, that she's okay with because they've been doing well with the villains. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, Doom is the way to go, especially if you're already doing Secret Wars. I think they
Yeah,
were going to have Doom and Secret Wars regardless. I wouldn't be surprised if the King thing was wrapped up in King Dynasty,
yeah.
and then Secret Wars was a Doom story.
Well, Secret Wars as of right now, 2027. So 3 years away. Although I think that will get pushed to 2028. I'm willing to bet.
Jeez.
Because you got to make room for the next Avengers movie, and
Hmm.
whatever they title that. I've seen online some edited photos have Avengers reassemble because it's like where are the Avengers, like come on. get your together.
Yeah.
We got something to, deal with here. And then, we'll see what happened with other projects. Blade, Mahershala Ali has been wanting to play the character since when was it 2019 Comic Con or
It's been a
2020? It
while.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a while. I don't know how much patience he has. Um, we'll see what happens with Armor Wars. I love the concept of a Stark Tech ending up in the wrong hands, and Rhodey definitely needs a redemption after Secret Invasion, even though it wasn't him. Like they got to figure that whole thing out.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of questions, but regardless, Marvel is riding the ship. They're going back to the drawing board, and we'll see if anything gets announced at Comic Con in a few months, about 4 months from now, or if they do their own presentation, Disney Expo or El Capitan Theater thing like they did 10 years ago. Wow, 10 years ago, Jesus Christ. So yeah, any final thoughts on the MCU before we wrap it up? Or
um. No, I mean, I will say for me, like, even though there's been a lot of disappointments since Endgame, like, uh, I'm still like just as excited for the next project as I mean,
yeah,
obviously right now it's Deadpool and Wolverine, but like I was like I never lost hope, to be honest. Like, unless Kevin Feige quits, I haven't lost hope.
yeah, he ain't quitting.
No.
Almost, probably. I'm sure with Shayback, it was like, do I really need this? I kind of proved
Yeah.
myself, but he found a new challenge now with getting his old toys from back in his producer days
Oh
at
yeah.
Fox, 20th Century Fox. So
It's kind
that'll
of
be
cool that he was a
exciting.
part of that. And so like he gets to work with everything he's ever been a part of for Marvel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cathartic. It's just amazing. Yes, in Feige we trust. We do.
I want one of those Deadpool Wolverine hats. I'm gonna find them.
Yeah, with the logo on it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I saw those. I'm sure they'll sell those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, well, that's gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us for Fandom United Live. Again, this is Fandom United, a blockbuster podcast with emphasis on blockbusters. And does it get any bigger than the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Not yet. Maybe one day. But that's going to do it. My name is Gio Ramos. You can find me on Twitter or X at Insider Geo. Jacob, find you anywhere if they want to chat with you.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm on X or Twitter at Jacob Ryan Bartley 824, and yeah, I'll be here with Geo most weeks.
Yep. And Keith Barnes, have a lovely birthday.
And
We'll
happy
talk to
birthday
him
to
next
Jake
week.
Berlin. Don't forget.
Happy birthday to Mr. Jake Berlin. Jake, man, I'm happy for you, buddy. And thank you to John Booz and to Rachel and to my brother for stopping by earlier. We appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. And until next week, you guys take care. No outro.